I'm your news anchor Adna,
My name is Trisha.
and we will also be joined by Ria, who will be here shortly. So to start off, we'll be talking about the U.S. lumber industry that petitions the government to impose duties on Canadian softwood. U.S. producers complain that Canadian lumber is subsidized and have in the past launched trade challenges that resulted in the United States imposing billions of dollars in tariffs. In a widely expected move, the coalition group petitioned the U.S. Commerce Department and the U.S. International Trade Commission to impose duties to offset the harm caused in U.S. mills, workers, and communities by Canadian softwood lumber production subsidies. Do you agree on the matter?
So I agree. Imposing duties on Canadian softwood would prevent any harm caused towards U.S. mill workers and communities, and this would make Canada not to be held accountable. So now for our next topic, we're going to be talking about Trump's assertion towards increasing tariffs to Chinese imports to America. So basically, Trump is starting a trade war with China because he thinks that China is responsible for the loss of manufacturing jobs in America due to the relocating in China. So Trump has threatened to impose a tariff on all Chinese imports, which will be increased by 45% of the tariff that it is at right now. So Trump believes locating more manufacturing plants in the U.S., so actually taking the manufacturing jobs from China and bringing them to the U.S., will increase employment rates and kickstart the economy. But in contrast, because China assembles semiconductor devices, then exports to the U.S. for cheaper. Once that discontinues, their semiconducting industry becomes costlier. And if the proposed plans are to carry out the assembling plants in America, it will be more expensive for consumers to purchase the semiconductor products or devices there. So this idea of a trade war came into play as Trump justifies that the loss of manufacturing jobs in America is primarily due to the manufacturing taking place in China. But as stated by economists, the U.S. has lost more jobs because of new technology and not due to migration to China. So Anna, how do you feel about this?
Actually disagree with him wanting to start a trade war just because this would in turn cause an increase in labor costs, which would cause even more complications if Canada wanted to import stuff from there, or even the U.S. wanting to import stuff from there.
So I'm here with Japri Saran, and I will be asking her on her thoughts about Donald Trump. So Japri, how do you feel about Donald Trump and his policies?
I personally disagree with everything that Donald Trump is doing, and I disagree with him because he's just not someone that I support. And for him, breaking the relationship that Canada and America had it's just going to affect the economy and the true relationships that we have.
So we're here with Ria, and we're going to be talking about NAFTA.
Yeah, so, there's trouble ahead for the Canadian dollar despite its strong start in 2017. The loonie, so far, just on last Thursday, closed at 75.63 cents in USD. So ever since the Trump presidency, we noticed that Canadians have been showing uncertainty over the future of the North American Free Trade Agreement, which is NAFTA, since most Canadians think that NAFTA could continue to sink the Canadian dollar in the next 6 months. In fact, 40 foreign exchange experts also predicted that the Canadian dollar can drop all the way down to 73.53 cents.
So looking at NAFTA and the Trump presidency, Canadians have all the right to think about their future, even if it means to eventually stray away from NAFTA. Canadian businesses, especially small ones, rely on the currency exchange rates, and it's important for them to look at their options.
I totally agree. And Trump hasn't exactly been sugarcoating his opinions on NAFTA, which is why Canadian businesses are fearing tariffs and border inspection delays, which will rise after his approaching inauguration on January the 20th. John Manley, who was the former Liberal cabinet minister, has even gone as far to say that Trump is an existential crisis to Canada. The majority of Canadians actually support applying for new tariffs and duties to American-made goods if the U.S. does pull out of NAFTA. Nearly 50% of Canadians actually said that they would support fully new tariffs on American goods if the U.S. does leave the NAFTA agreement. So if Trump does end NAFTA, which he will, more than 60% of Canadians believe that Canada will not be able to negotiate for a better trade agreement. Actually, pollster Nick Nano said, quote, "The fact that Canadians don't think we can win in a negotiation of NAFTA speaks to the level of anxiety that Canadians have on trade issues."
So the Trump presidency has covered a lot of anxiety amongst not only Americans, but Canadians as well, because of the extensive business we do with the U.S. Our economy is heavily dependent on the U.S., and so at this point, Canadian businesses try to go to every level to ensure their businesses stay afloat. So property prices fall at dangerous levels in Britain, primarily due to the result of Brexit, which is Britain leaving the European Union. So the data suggests that the UK housing market could be an inflection point, with activity slowing throughout 2016, particularly in the capital, as sellers accepted lower offers while buyers deserted the market amid uncertainty over Brexit. Also said property price falls in Britain following the vote to leave the EU could be good for the UK if the adjustment is borne mainly by foreign investors. So, as said from this economist named Ms. Mon, we've already started to see some changes in real estate prices in the UK, particularly in the London market. So what do you think?
Well, the situation in Britain right now, it's very tense since they did just leave the EU, and so I feel like that a lot of it can be blamed on the situation with the voting. So I know a lot, it can also relate to the situation in America right now, that not a lot of the population voted. Not a lot of them actually voiced their opinion when they should have, and now they're kind of blaming the government for their decision, when in fact it was up to them to vote, to decide, and get their voices heard, and so they just failed to do so, and I feel like they don't really have anyone to blame but themselves.
So our next article is going to be on how Canada looks for ways to attract people to the foreign market. So Canada is set to introduce a one-stop service for attracting brownfield and greenfield investments in key sectors of the economy, attracting top global talent by loosening immigration rules, and establishing a Canada Infrastructure Bank mandated to invest in a 10-year, $35 billion plan. And on Thursday, International Trade Minister Chrystia Freeland spoke to a crowd of business executives and foreign trade specialists in Montreal on the $218 million investment organization she announced in December. While the speech was largely a recap of Canadian achievements, the importance of the initiative should be underestimated. So I think it's pretty smart, Canada looking for ways to attract more foreign investment and boost its economy. It is preparing for a busy year ahead of investor-friendly reforms. So speaking of the Canadian government, I heard that there's a new foreign international trade minister.
Yeah, that's right. His name is Francois Philippe Champagne, and he has a great background in in just working with the government and like trying to add more reform and stuff like that. But before he jumped into politics, Champagne held down very serious jobs in the field of international business. So he was a lawyer, and he was also the senior counsel and vice president of the ABB Group, which is a Swiss engineering giant. And then he also had another string of titles, including Strategic Development Director at AMEC, which is a big London-based project management company focused mostly on the energy sector. And so now that he's taken on more of a trade portfolio, Champagne's perspective on Canada's position in the world economy is even more relevant, especially taking in his background working with different countries and their businesses and their organizations. And so bringing in his opinion and his sort of background, he believes that Canada's profile abroad is way too fragmented, and he hopes to change that as he grows in his new role.
Alright, so for our next article, I'll be talking about the challenges of making a brand name in Canada. So fashion is a competitive field with a huge range of price points. Independent Canadian designers have to opt out a living somewhere between high-end couture market of, say, Giorgio Armani, and the lower-end and fast fashion factories like H&M, all in a relatively small Canadian market. The goal is to find the sweet spot and then convince Canadian fashion lovers to shop locally. Canadian designers have to be really smart because they are already up against some very well-known brands, and a lot of these brands have huge margins and enormous marketing budgets.
So yeah, like I totally agree. It's really hard for new businesses to come into Canada, especially in like our economy like right now, since it's very competitive. And to come in and to establish themselves is going to be really hard because, like you mentioned before, like there's like high-end fashion companies that we have based in Canada, like Giorgio Armani, and then we also have H&M. So we have a wide variety, and it's really hard for new companies to come in and try to fit in to this wide scale that we have. And so you know, and it's really hard just in general, not even in Canada but all over the world, to get consumers to leave their trusted brands that they're very loyal to come to a new one and start a new relationship with a new company, because it's like, you know, you need to have a good relationship with your consumers.
Now we're gonna go to Adna on the field, and she's at Castlebar Secondary School talking to one of the fashion students.
Alright, so I'm here with Japri Saran. So, as a fashion student, what do you think would be one of the biggest challenges if we decided to open up a store?
Managing my resources would be the biggest issue that I would be facing, and just trying to figure out what the market is, and in different countries such as Canada, if I were to move from England.
It's really. So, what do you think are some issues that a foreign brand would be forced to face if deciding to open up a store here in Canada?
For me, it would be hard to figure out the norms and figuring out like the target audience for clothing. If, for example, if I were to come from England and coming to Canada, it would be really hard for me to figure out like the prices for clothing and what the trends are here, and just trying to understand what their normal is here.
Alright, that's it for tonight, folks. Thank you so much for watching.
So this is Grow on the Go, your favorite news outlet.
I'll see you next week.
In the United States, imposing billions of dollars in tariffs.
3 cents.
Looking at
Did all those people like get in?
Can we?
Right. So we're here with Bro. Further into the ever-growing issues surrounding the
Just steering.
Can I just start recording them? I'm gonna wait. Okay. Going further into the ever-growing issues surrounding NAFTA, majority of Canadians actually support applying new tariffs and duties to American-made goods if the U.S. does pull out of NAFTA. Actually, nearly. So going into the okay, just keep it going.
You suck.